Hello, and welcome to Confidently Compliant, a food safety podcast by BRCGS. My name is Paula Parejo, and I'm from the BRCGS team. For those of you who don't know BRCGS, we are a GFSI benchmark program owner that have standards beyond food safety. We have standards in consumer products, ethical, plant-based, gluten-free, packaging, agents and brokers, retail, storage and distribution, pretty much everything in between everybody for the supply chain. Today, we will be chatting with our very first ever guest on Confidently Compliant, the Global Head of Training and Events, Michelle Tindale. And we are going to dive right into virtual events, what they're all about, and how you can adjust your networking strategy to utilize an online platform. Welcome back, Michelle.
Thank you. This is a very slightly different circumstances, isn't it, than last time?
Definitely. We are both working from home, as you can probably see. So if you guys hear any ruffling in the background, my cat might come meow at me and jump on my lap, or one of Michelle's kids might walk by. So we'll see.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. Again, thank you so much, Michelle, for coming today. I think it's super exciting that we can kind of revisit that we did this like a little over a year ago. We're not quite at the anniversary, but in a sense, happy anniversary. You were my first podcast guest.
I love that.
My question to you is, we decided as an organization to utilize virtual events. Mm-hmm. For you as the head of global events, like what was the big push to make that decision to ensure, instead of waiting out our events, why should we go virtual?
It was really simple. We wanted to be there for our customers, basically, and we didn't want to put anything on hold. Strangely, we were actually looking at hybrid and virtual event capability before COVID hit. Mm-hmm. So it was something that we were actually planning to schedule into our events portfolio anyway. It's just that obviously we had to learn very quickly as soon as the pandemic hit. So yeah, that was the main driver. The last thing we wanted to do was go a year or however long it may have been without connecting with our customers wherever they may be in the world.
Absolutely. No, that makes a lot of sense to me. I mean, we've seen quite a lot of engagement from even our virtual events. After learning all those valuable lessons, we now have a actual proper virtual platform, correct?
Yep.
Yes. Do you want to kind of explain a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we have, as you quite rightly say, a proper virtual events platform that gives us that reassurance that the platform, the basic fundamentals work well. It's fully supported. We have backup systems in place, and it's separate from anything else that we may be using. And also, critically, we don't have this sort of situation where attendees can unmute themselves and have a conversation halfway through a presentation or whatever it may be. But also the event platform gives us the capability to offer a lot more of the services that we would normally offer at a physical event. So for example, some elements of that networking and the sponsorship and the Q&A and the ability to find out a bit more about each other in your industry. So, we're able to replicate a bit more of what you would find in the physical event. So, really pleased with the event platform that we've got. And it's fair to say that, it every time we utilize it, there are new features, and it's being, they're working on it, as you can imagine. They're working on it on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, and new features are coming to light all the time as the industry continues to demand more and more and more of these event platforms.
Absolutely. And again, I think one big thing that we can sort of outline too is you're not missing out in terms of the main features like you have in physical events, as you had mentioned. So for example, you can still have conversations with the attendees.
Oh yeah.
You can have conversations with the sponsors. There are exhibitor spaces. There are full-on networking opportunities, like scheduled events alongside of the regular programming. There's lots of opportunities there to still go into little pockets to smaller groups to have that one-to-one time and take in information.
Absolutely. And I think that's what I love about, and I've said this before in our previous podcast, the nature of our events. They're in the events world, they're relatively small, because but the thing I love about that is that it does enable that networking, and hosting it in an online forum or an event platform doesn't change that. It just requires a slight shift in the way you approach your events. From a delegate perspective or a speaker perspective or an event manager perspective, but a lot of the key principles remain the same. So for me personally, it's been a steep learning curve with virtual events, but I've loved every minute of it.
Absolutely. And truthfully, I came from a technical sales background, so for me, I actually find it quite comfortable, and a lot of commercial members that would participate in the events would probably find it relatively comfortable to network virtually, because when you do initial reach outs, you're going to apply the same principles. You're probably going to want to look at someone's profile on social media. You're going to want to research them, find a little pull to get them interested to want to respond back to your message. It's about applying these same principles, but instead of doing it on your regular workday, you're doing it in the form of this event on this particular platform.
Yeah, and I would actually argue that these event platforms give you more of an opportunity to prepare, because you quite often have access to the event platforms a few days or weeks in advance of the actual event. And therefore you have the ability to go through people's profiles. Now, some people might fill their profile with all sorts of information and some not. That's a personal choice. But me, for example, I always add my LinkedIn profile. I always add my contact details. So at the bare minimum, you can do your research and actually go, okay, well, that's my short list of people that I really want to try to connect with live on the day. So, which you actually is harder to do in some respects at a physical event. You can still do it. But actually, on these event platforms, you've got all the information at a click of a button.
And not to put down physical events or anything, because obviously they have lots of pros. But when you look at it in retrospect, the way that you would have to scope out a person in a physical event is so creepy. You know what I mean? It's like you have to stare them down from across the room and be like, what's their badge say? Oh, that's a company I want to talk to. And then you got to wait and like watch every move and then wait for an appropriate time.
You don't have that slight awkwardness. I mean, that is true. I mean, I remember we spoke about it in the last session where there's that slight discomfort sometimes when you're at a physical event, or how do I make that initial contact? And you're right, actually, on the event platform, you've got that sense of it's a slightly disconnected sense, but in a positive way, because you can say hi and you don't feel like you're gonna get ignored or whatever it may be.
Right. It's not as awkward, you know, like I joked about it last time, being like, how do you manage being in a physical event if you're socially awkward like some people? Wink, wink. Right? Like, in a sense, like, it's kind of, I'm not gonna lie to you, I've had some quite uncomfortable moments where it's like someone that you want to talk to and you're kind of waiting for that opportunity because you've never actually met them before, but you've seen them from afar, or like your boss told you, hey, this person works there, go talk to them. It can be a bit of a nightmare.
It can be. And I think at the physical events, I think I said last time, you know, if you need help, talk to the event managers or and we can point you in the right direction. Actually, on the online events, for the virtual events, you need that help less, because you can do your research, you can ping them a message, and it's not in your face, and it's not So
and if you get rejected, it's just not awkward. You know what I mean? They just won't respond, and that's it.
Exactly.
And easy going.
Absolutely.
And the other thing about virtual events too, which I don't think everyone always considers, technically, you could reach out to every single person on that platform if you wanted to.
Oh, absolutely.
If you wanted to.
Yeah.
In a physical event, there's no way. There's no way you would speak to every single body there.
No. And I truly think that it's like with most things in life, it's how you approach it. you make the best of the situation, but it's all about preparation. And you prepare for a physical event in a slightly different way than you would for a virtual event. And if you want to get the most out of your virtual event, you still have to do that preparation. You still have to do that groundwork and that research, and ask yourself those very same questions. Why am I going to this event? What do I want to achieve? The same principles are there. The mechanics of how you go about it are slightly different. But yeah, the preparation is key.
Perfect. And that really jumps into how to adjust, right? Which is a big thing that we're going to be talking about today. I guess a big question that I have for you, so something that we talked about in the last networking podcast was to remember that you're human and that we're just people, and showcase yourself, showcase your personality. How do you get that across virtually? How can people adjust?
It's funny because we recently ran our Food Safety Europe event, and I did a lot of the chat functionality, and I found myself actually, you kind of want to chat to people online in the same way that you would if you're physically in the room. So, you want to think of those icebreaker kind of conversations, or, so for example, it sounds ridiculous, but at the morning coffee break, I said, so what sort of treat is everybody helping themselves to? Because, normally in a physical environment, we would be treating the delegates to a nice slice of cake in mid-morning or something like that. So, of course, my mind goes immediately to food. So I like to know what everybody's eating. But actually the flurry of responses that you get back, and then that triggers other conversations between delegates, and it's those kind of innocuous things that actually show that human side of you. You don't always have to come up with a smart or intelligent hi kind of a thing. It could just be as silly as that. So that would be probably my initial tip for trying to sort of reach out. And get involved in the chat. Really get involved in the chat, because, excuse me, those chat functionalities on the virtual platforms really make an event. After Food Safety Europe, I went back through our chat, and it was just like it went on and on and on, and the various conversations that were had, and that brings the event to life. It really does. So yeah, get involved.
It's funny that you bring up the chat. I actually found this very, very sweet. After every presentation, because it's not the same as like giving an applause, right? Because you can't hear each other. So instead of applause, people would give messages of encouragement.
Yep.
And I thought that was so nice, like, because I guess that's what an applause really is.
It is.
But to see it virtually, it's comments.
It is.
So and
it's a very different way of it's a very different way of showing your appreciation, really, for somebody's session. I think that's the thing, isn't it? The virtual events, the take-homes and the value of those events don't change from my perspective. Yeah. They're just slightly different.
And you know what? Like you said, I definitely utilize virtual events as an opportunity to be silly and showcase my silly side. I would not scream woo, I don't think, in a physical event, but I will on a virtual one where I'll put all capitals.
Yeah. Well, but it's a lot like, I don't know if you know this, but, I don't know, there's probably memes all over the place with this where, on nowadays when you leave a meeting, you wave. I never used to do that in the physical world. I mean, I would never leave a meeting room and wave. But actually, we've all adapted to this virtual world, and waving is just one of those things.
I never thought about that. I never thought about that at all. And even if you have to leave a meeting early, when you had to do it in a physical place, you would just be like, sorry guys, and physically go up and then do the awkward thing and move out. Now you could just put in the chat box, gotta run, here's why, and you can give a full explanation as to why you're leaving early. It's so efficient and less awkward, I think.
I think that word efficient is probably a good one to use, actually. I think we've all had to be a lot more efficient with our time. Bizarrely, I mean, I think probably at the start of the pandemic, everybody thought, oh, brilliant, working from home, I'm going to have more time on my hands. I think it's probably been the reverse in some ways. But yeah, all these various things mean you do have to be quite efficient with...
Yes.
how you go about prioritizing or engaging or whatever it may be. The other thing I would say, actually, and we found this with our virtual training, is that for those people who are a bit uncomfortable raising their hand in public or asking those questions, virtual events and virtual training give you that opportunity to get involved without feeling like you're under the spotlight. And if I liken it to after a speaking session at an event and we always open the floor out to questions, we would always have an app for questions, but we'd also encourage them from the room. And there is that sense of, oh, I don't want to have to hold the microphone and talk in front of all of these people. Actually, with the virtual events, you don't have to worry about that. You just submit your question and off it goes, and it'll go straight to the speaker. So again, it opens doors for people who may have struggled in the past, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And that kind of is a nice bridge, I think, for when you're engaging with people as a delegate. Honestly, in my opinion, you can be really creative. You don't have to give up anything because you get to prepare. And I don't know, I think you can just hit so much more ground compared to a physical event. That for me is the big thing. The volume is an opportunity which wouldn't have been an opportunity in the past.
Absolutely. And I think what's great about our event platform is, from my perspective, is that on the day itself, you don't have to stress if you miss a particular session. So if you're really wrapped up in a conversation with another delegate and you're having a great time, but you know there's something on the agenda that you want to watch, you don't have to worry about stopping that networking in order to listen, because you can log back in and listen to that session afterwards because it's recorded. You have access for 6 months afterwards, after the date of the event. So that's a massive plus.
Oh man, such a key that I think is so underrated, because like when you go to a physical event, you have to make the most out of those 3 days. You have to, because that's all you can get. Whereas like in this way, you can go revisit the content. So really, like, yes, you can listen to the content on the day, but if you want to utilize that time networking with live people, first of all, it doesn't come across as rude to the speakers because you're not interrupting them.
Yeah.
And second of all, like, you can go and revisit that content later on, so you don't miss anything. So really, on an educational basis, you're getting more out of it because you can review it as many times as you want. You can make your own notes. You can send them to yourself. And you can also expand on your networking, because if you don't reach everybody you want to the day of, you still have 6 months post-event to revisit those accounts.
Absolutely.
And those profiles. Yeah.
I mean, actually, and if I look at it from a performance enhancement perspective, which is my overarching kind of reason for being, that's what, why I'm here. Let's be honest, the cat's out the bag really with regards to hybrid events, with regards to virtual training, hybrid events, it's here to stay. So from an event management perspective, we're going to have to accommodate this moving forward. So even if we do go back into a world where we are running physical events, there will always be an element of, okay, well, we still have to offer this virtual attendance option, because I think some people will prefer it and some people will want to continue it as an option.
I think something good to highlight here with that opportunity as well, with it being virtual, although it's Food Safety Americas, what that truly means for us offering the event is that the content is tailored to the Americas audience, but anybody's welcome to join.
Absolutely.
And with it being virtual, that gives us a much bigger opportunity to have a global audience tune in.
Yeah, I mean that's been massively exciting for us, and we've seen that. We've seen that in all the events that we've run virtually. We've seen a much wider global audience. And all credit to people. So for Food Safety Europe, it was run predominantly in UK hours, and we had attendees from Australia, Russia, South Africa, Canada. Really committed to getting up and being awake and live at 2 a.m. or whatever it may be. Yeah. But what's fantastic is that actually we can now start to service those global networks, and it makes us more connected to our global community, which has really exciting opportunities for us.
Absolutely. And I think as a delegate commercially, that's such a cool value for you to have, that if you wanted to break out, let's say you're from Europe and you wanted to break out to the North American market. By you going to something like Food Safety Americas, it gives you that opportunity to see what topics are interesting for people.
Absolutely.
What questions are coming up in the speakers' sessions? How can I service that commercially?
Absolutely.
Operationally?
Yeah.
And it can really help you with your market research to help you expand if that's something that you're looking into if you're a global company.
Absolutely. And you know, we all know that there are different challenges in different regions. I mean, there's usually a continuing thread amongst them, but there are slight differences in different regions, and it's really important that we reflect that in our events. That's why we run an event that's, as you quite rightly pointed out, is focused on the Americas. The content is absolutely relevant for anybody that might want to take part, and
sure.
equally the connections that you can make during those kind of events are unique as well. And we never want to lose the fun side of our events. You know, we've always run fun events, and particularly for Food Safety Americas, we're really looking forward to creating a virtual event in the evening event, shall we call it? And trust me, you know, for those of you who have been to our events before, you know our event manager Sarah is amazing at her job, so you know that whatever evening event we pull on will be great. And I'm really looking forward to a virtual evening event, because I've been to a couple and they can be surprisingly fun. You end up doing things that you would never have thought you would do. So certainly I would never thought I would do.
Oh, absolutely. Like Sarah, kudos to Sarah.
Yes,
Sarah's amazing. She actually she organized our company like party virtually. And we did some fun stuff.
We did. We all had a laugh. And do you know what? What was great was, look, we all know it's hard, and we all know those kind of evening entertainment. Let's be frank and let's be honest. It doesn't replicate the face-to-face. Nothing will. And we're not trying to do that. But what we're trying to do is provide a bit of light relief and networking also. I mean, you know, let's not forget that opportunity. So, and there's lots of fun and exciting things that we can do. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Won't quite be what we did in Nashville, which was a good old dance, but you never know, we might get you dancing. Don't rule it out. Don't rule it out.
Oh my goodness. All right, I want to pivot here. Let's talk about sponsorship.
Yeah.
So, what about sponsors? What do you think are some things that they're actually gaining? Because I know that a lot of sponsors are sometimes hesitant of like, with not being in a physical event, like again, the networking's a little bit different. How can I actually utilize a virtual platform? Because I'm not physically handing someone something. I'm not physically there to interact with them. Like, why would this be worth my budget or even efforts or time?
But it's a lot of the same things as I said for the delegates. Is about there's two things here really to point out. One of which is that preparation. The preparation still counts. So, you know, if you sponsor an event in the same way that you would with a physical event, you do your preparation. You know, who do you really want to talk to? Why are you sponsoring the event? What's your main aim here? So that conversation and that thought process doesn't change just because it's a virtual event. The other thing I would say is that actually you're getting, well, you certainly for ours, I can't speak of everybody else's events, but with our events, you're getting a much longer exposure to those delegates. So, you know, you're having more airtime, as it were, with those delegates. And in the same way that you can, you know, tap somebody on the shoulder in a physical event, you can do the same thing online. You just have to shift your thinking ever so slightly and think about what you would normally do in the physical event, and do the exact same thing online. Equally, you know, if a sponsor wants to be able to offer those sort of, you know, remember those giveaways that they would have at physical events?
Yeah.
You know, if you want to be able to do those sorts of things, then we can facilitate that. There's always ways and means around being able to do those kind of things. And really, I've seen all sorts of different event platforms, some of which have sort of funky avatars, some of which have massive exhibition halls that you can wander around, using kind of virtual reality methodology. Fundamentally, if you remove all of that kind of the glitz and glam, the process that an individual has to take is the same. You need to do your preparation, right. You need to make contact, and you need to take ownership of that contact and tap people on the shoulder virtually, as it were. Yeah. So none of that changes, really, is what I would say. Actually, virtual events give sponsors a new and slightly varied route into a potential customer's pathway that they may not have had before.
Oh, absolutely. There's a couple things that come to my mind. So given that, like, as a marketer, I think it's actually very exciting, the opportunities that you have. Because think of it this way. You have your own exhibitor space virtually. Because you are not confined to a physical venue and their rules, you can use your marketing creativity to pretty much offer delegates whatever you want. And there's almost virtually like no limitations as to what that is, which would go so much farther beyond a physical event. Like, there was a time at a physical event where I really wanted to offer like goodies at my table, and the venue said, no, you can't do that. Whereas like, if I really wanted to, I could put that budget to give people like an opportunity to get something from Uber Eats if I really wanted to.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And it's about using that creative force. So you're absolutely right. You use that creativity. Oh gosh, over the last year, we've all had to get creative in the way we do our business and the way we try to engage with people. So, bring that to light and see what you can come up with. And you're absolutely right to sort of focus on the sort of the virtual exhibitor booth, because you can fill that with as much information as you want. So, get creative with it. And, people, like I said, have access to the platform before, during and after. And it's amazing, actually, how often people will spend a bit of time navigating through the system and having a good look around. So, think of something eye-catching that will get somebody's attention and draw them in.
Definitely. It's so much opportunity for creativity, and like, you can offer the delegates so much. And again, the biggest thing is, because you have 6 months post-event as well, to actually do your market research post-event so you can analyze who showed up here.
Yeah, and actually the event managers have that's probably actually something else I should say, is that, the event managers have got access to statistics on the event platform. So who did what, who went where, how many people clicked on your exhibitor booth or whatever it may be. So there's all those sorts of statistics that we can obviously support delegates and sponsors and supporters with, which actually in a physical event would be slightly harder to do.
Definitely.
So yeah, absolutely. I really think it's all about your mindset. Whether you're a delegate, whether you're an event manager, or whether you're a supporter of the event, it's about that mindset. And if you go into it with the right mindset, you will come out of it winning. I promise you, because the events that we run, certainly, I'm biased, but I think they're amazing. But also other events that other organisations are running now. People are learning every single day, and they're getting better and better and better and better. So absolutely, watch this space, really.
Definitely. And the pre-event marketing too has been really, really fun for me. Working with Food Safety Europe and working with the sponsors that were there, I got to know different sponsors, get some intel of their stories, how they actually like to serve their customers, and how they intend to serve people at the Food Safety Europe event. And to me, that was so valuable, because it gave delegates an opportunity to see what they had to offer, to give them an incentive to go check out their booth. It gave the sponsors an opportunity to have some light on their company and showcase why they're valuable. And it gave us an opportunity to be creative with them. And there was so much flexibility in a way that we wouldn't have probably thought of it in that way if we didn't have this shift in mindset.
No, absolutely. And I also think that in some ways it's really shone a light on the value of sponsors and supporters, because, you know, events are a costly thing to run. And yes, we charge delegates to attend our events, but they are not feasible events without our sponsors or supporters. You know, we need both sides to be able to put on these kind of events. And so, you know, if delegates want to enjoy the full breadth that an event can offer, it's not just about listening to the speaker session or engaging in the breakout sessions. It is about engaging with those sponsors, because they will have interesting stories and they will have interesting solutions to problems that you may have. So, you know, it's really about building that community, and building that community of trust. You know, it's no longer these days about, well, I'm going to sell this to you and you're going to buy it. It's what problems have you got? What solutions can we offer you? And that is about building that sense of community, and that's what we really want to foster with our virtual and hopefully in the long run our physical events again.
Definitely. And I think that's super valuable for everybody, really, because you're focusing on the education, which is something we talked about before. With the physical events, it was always focused on education. It was always focused on giving the delegates value. And at the end of the day, the sponsors get a lot of value too. Absolutely.
They get to know what people are worried about, what the concerns are, you know, the reaction to the services that they have. And these events are a massive learning opportunity for everybody involved, including us. So, you know, oh gosh, I love events, and I surprisingly have loved the virtual events just as much. And they, trust me, they're just as exhausting to run. So, I mean, you know, as you know, Sarah does all the hard work, but they are just as exhausting to run.
Certainly, definitely more eye strain in this way.
Yes, and ears.
Yeah. Very true.
But no.
So you briefly mentioned some costs. I think it would be nice to kind of outline the differences of what you're paying for in a physical event versus what you're paying for in a virtual event.
Sure. Well, I mean, certainly when it comes to our costs, our virtual ticket prices are lower than our physical ticket prices. And that fundamentally comes down to the venue. You know, when you are running an event, the biggest cost for any event organizer is the venue, and fundamentally we're not feeding you, and we're not you know, giving you heating or whatever it may be, so we can't charge you for that. That would not be that would not be right. However, we're still providing a very, very valuable event, and you know, fantastic speakers that we're putting together with great networking opportunities, and introducing sponsors and suppliers all in one place. So there is a slightly different pricing structure for our virtual events, and we're very open and transparent as to why that's the case.
And, you know, let's be honest, you're cutting so many costs. You're not booking a hotel. You're not booking a flight. You're not having to pay for meals. Like, all that
you're absolutely
should be
right.
taken into consideration.
Yeah.
Because, like, your budget for traveling, or what would have been going to a conference, would have been so much higher per person, firstly. And then secondly, the amount of people that you can send. If you were to utilize a similar budget, not even let's pretend you even cut it in half.
Yeah.
You could probably still send more people to the virtual event, cutting that original budget in half, than you would have to a physical.
Absolutely, and that's one of the reasons why we pulled together a corporate offering. So there is a corporate ticket rate that we've pulled together, and it's for that very reason that, you know, let's face it, most organisations have got budgets set in advance, so they've put money aside. As we all know, with budgets, if you don't use it, you lose it. So you know, it's always a good idea to try to use it, you know, where possible. And I know in our organisation there are always events that people wish they could go to, or wish they could send more of their team members to. And so, you know, we felt it was actually really important to be able to offer that opportunity. So that's why we have initiated that corporate rate, for that very reason.
And there's so much flexibility too with the ticket options, particularly this year, because this year you have general corporate rates, partner corporate rates, general rates, partner rates, military, student.
Yes. Well, I mean, at the end of the day, I think, again, our audience is always growing, and our delegates, or people who are interested in our events, is always growing. And, we want to be able to support people to gain access to those learning opportunities. And so it's necessary, I think, to offer a different pricing structure to support that. And I don't think anybody in the industry would have an issue with us offering a preferential rate for a student over and above somebody who is in a salaried role or in a company that's commercially viable, against a student who is at the very start of their career and actually would benefit enormously from attending those sessions and introductions to those sorts of people. So it's really important that we offer that broad spectrum, I think.
Yeah. Come to our website. It has all the information of how you can purchase your ticket, of course.
Yes.
And get other information, actually, different information about our sponsors, our speakers, and awards as well.
Oh, yeah. Everybody loves an award. I'm so pleased that we were able to continue doing the awards in the virtual world, because especially in the year that we've just had, people I think need that. They need that recognition that, they're doing an amazing job. Everybody, whether you've won an award or not, you're doing an amazing job, let me just say. But the awards gave us that opportunity to stop, pause and say, well done. Just genuinely from the bottom of our hearts, well done. You've done an amazing job. And we were able to continue to do that virtually. And I'm looking forward to Food Safety Americas, where we will again make a big fuss out of a few people and a few organizations.
Yes, definitely. And I hope that if you're listening to this, take the time to nominate, because no act too small won't go unnoticed, if that makes sense.
No, it does.
I think that a lot of people might underestimate how difficult it is to navigate in the world today. The award categories that we have are BRCGS Site of the Year, Approved Training Partner of the Year / Consultant,
BRC Professional of the Year, Auditor of the Year,
Auditor of the Year, Certification Body of the Year, and we have a new category as well, which is Star Performer of the Year.
Yes, I'm looking forward to all of these.
Yeah.
And you know what? All of our previous winners. What I love is that they're always so surprised when they win. It's that kind of, it's a real Oscar moment, which I love. So I'm thoroughly looking forward to seeing all the applications coming in, all the nominations coming in. So you're absolutely right. Get nominating. Have a little think about who you've worked with or who you've seen working, and you think, you know what, they deserve recognition. It's not a complicated process. It's very easy. So have a look on our website for more information, or do get in contact. We'll be happy to walk you through that. But
definitely. And with our events page, all you really have to do is go onto the main page under the awards section. You're going to find eligibility, so you can understand how the contest works. You'll find the nomination form, which you'll select your category, and then each category has a particular form that you fill out. So that way you can answer who you're nominating and why you're nominating them, and answer them a couple questions. Yeah. And from there, you submit them to events@brcgs.com, which is an email that we will filter and look through everything. And then we'll shortlist some winners. And the deadline for that would be April 20th as to when you can submit your nomination.
Not long. All right, that will quickly come around. So yeah, definitely. Get nominating.
Yeah, take advantage. Take advantage, absolutely.
Yeah.
So this has been a really, really productive talk. I think that we were able to revisit a lot of the concepts that we talked about the first time, just to get people to think and recognize, it's really not as scary as some people might seem. I know a lot of feedback we've gotten is with virtual, I'm just not sure if it's worth it, or I don't know how to do it. Again, just reapply the same principles, just change the mechanics of how you do it. And I think that's the big takeaway.
Absolutely. We've all learned to do our jobs in different ways over the last year, and attending events is no different. you do the same principles apply. You just you do them in a slightly different way. And if you're in any doubt or if you're concerned at all, the same advice applies. Reach out to us. We can give you advice, we can give you tips, we can put you in touch with somebody who is already attending the event and can put you in touch with people. We have fantastic business development managers and sales teams at BRCGS who know everybody as well, so feel free to get in touch and we can help you out. So
absolutely.
But enjoy, definitely. First and foremost is what I would say, because it's still an event, so still have fun, and attend with a smile on your face, and look to connect with as many people as possible.
Absolutely. Just remember to set out your goals. If your goals is education, you have 6 months to review all the content that's there, and it will be recorded so you can review it and take detailed notes. If your goal is to network, you have the individual profiles where people are actually offering a lot more of their personal information by choice, which is something that you can definitely utilize and maximize as a commercial business. And again, just connect with people and showcase your personality and learn. Just use it as an opportunity to learn, because like Michelle said, our world is moving virtually. This isn't going to be just a temporary fix. This is going to be a new normal in a lot of different ways. And although physical events may come back, virtual is always going to be there. So it's good to kind of practice when everyone's in the same boat. And this is a good opportunity. So take advantage.
Absolutely. Couldn't have said it better myself.
Perfect. I'm learning. Okay, Michelle. So is there anything else that you want to outline about Food Safety America's 2021 or any of our other virtual events that are coming up?
No, other than I'm not a salesperson, which is why I do my job, not a sales job. But have a look at our events. Have a look at the agendas. They're fantastic events, and we've been working really, really hard to make sure that the event platforms are there to support you and to support your needs in attending an event. And we're really excited actually about the events that we've got coming up this year. And also we're really excited about engaging that global audience. So do have a look. Do send us your thoughts. If you've got any questions, get in touch. More than happy to help. And I look forward to seeing you online soon.
Definitely. Thank you so much for joining me today, Michelle. I really appreciate you being here.
Thanks, Paula.
Anytime. So if you have any questions about our podcast today, please email us at podcast@brcgs.com. As always, visit our website, brcgs.com/events to get your tickets. And always feel free to reach out to our events team if you have any questions about virtual networking or any of the elements that Michelle had just outlined. Let's use science for a safer world, and thank you for joining us on Confidently Compliant, a food safety podcast.